This is where I needed to step in as the experienced tarot reader and explain to her that wait, something went wrong. Hey everybody, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Anna and you're watching Astral Lady Tarot. Today I want to talk to you about something that happened during a client tarot reading. Now I used the good old Centennial Rider-Waite-Smith by US Games, a classic deck for short face-to-face client readings at the metaphysical store. Let me just tell you about it because it's kind of interesting and I want to hear from you in the comments. Now, it's been a while, but I believe that this is how it happened because I made a note of it in my phone. And so I'm kind of like bringing back the memory here. Usually, I don't really do yes or no questions with the tarot because it's a tool that is so in-depth. Every single card within the frame that it has an entire story, so it doesn't always work with yes or no. However, I think, if I remember correctly, we were somewhat in a time crunch here, and so she just decided to ask the question, should I move back to England? That was how she phrased that initial question. Remember that. I am sure of this part. Put a pin in that. And this is freaky because the card that we pulled was this one, the Judgment card. And I'm going to explain why that is kind of insane. However, if you take away the, oh my God, this tarot deck is incredible in its imagery and, preciseness, I guess, does the Judgment card in the meaning that it has answer yes or no here? To me, not so much. I mean, I can of course interpret the card. It's about waking up. To me, it's mostly about some sort of a revolution, inner big revolution where you completely change. You've been kind of living maybe with this feeling that something should change, but then with the Judgment, it actually happens and manifests, and something inside of you awakens. So you hear the call, and that's where you go, right? That's kind of like a sign of the universe, you could say. Many different ways of reading this card, but I like to interpret it in this manner most of the time. But the freaky thing is that this flag right here that this angel is holding is a UK flag. Let me explain to you, because I actually had to look this up, what exactly it is. The white and red flag depicted in some versions of the Judgment Tarot card is likely St. George's Cross, the flag of England, a detail that references the biblical imagery of resurrection and the Last Judgment. The card itself symbolizes a major life change, a spiritual awakening, culmination of a significant journey, blah, blah, blah. We get it. The symbolism of the flag, St. George's Cross, flag of England, featuring a red cross on a white background. Pretty clear that that's what it is. It's a common element in older tarot decks or decks that are based off of Pamela Coleman Smith's, Smith-Waite tarot deck. And of course, particularly decks that, including this one, have a lot of Christian iconography. So to me, I'm not a Christian, really not my jam, but I like the history of it. So yeah, this is what I mean. There's a lot of that element of resurrection, which is why I translate that to awakening, a rebirth, transformation. We get it. But this is really insane, right? That the question is about England and we get the card with the UK flag. So there, really freaky. This is the one card we pulled for that question, yeah? I think now that it's starting to come back a little bit, she kind of really wanted to just have a really clear answer and pull one card. And I was like, all right, let's roll with that. Clear question, clear answer with just pulling one card, the card that she pulled out of the deck. Great. Kind of couldn't have been a clearer answer, right? However, we were debating whether this actually is a clear answer because, of course, wow, the light is crazy. Because, of course, I would say now clearly it's a real answer with this sign in the card. This is insane how the tarot works sometimes. However, in its meaning, again, what does that really mean? It didn't really ring a bell for her. And so, since we still had some time, we decided to pull another card. However, this is where I needed to step in as the experienced tarot reader and explain to her that wait, something went wrong. Because we decided that she would pull another card, except as she was choosing it, she accidentally changed the question. She rephrased the question out loud. Because remember when I asked you to put a pin in the original question, the phrasing of the question? The original question was, should she move back to England? And now she said, should I go to the UK or stay in the Netherlands? She, of course, didn't realize that she had almost made my job as a card interpreter much more difficult. So thankfully, I caught that in time. And then I had the idea to make this video because it's important as a tarot reader and maybe even as a tarot client to know, how these cards really work, to be at least aware of these subtle changes that make a huge difference. She now said, should I go to the UK or stay in the Netherlands, right? And normally, if this was the original way of saying that question, I would have had her pull two cards at least, right? One for each option or more for each option. But this is usually how I like to answer questions with more than one option. I should have thought of that before, I feel. Because, of course, if the initial question is, and it was, should I move back to the UK, then clearly there's another option of staying in the Netherlands. However, at that moment, I didn't really clock it. Because, well, we just went how she wanted to, have her tarot reading, and that's all fine. But she was going to then change the question basically and choose only one card to answer that question. And it's very important, guys. So, honestly, in my point of view, it isn't impossible to answer a question like that. I mean, case in point, the freaking judgment card with the UK flag. But in my, again, experience, signs like these don't always happen. you know, it would make much more sense to pull one card for each option and then compare which suits better. She dismissed it initially and said, no, we're just asking the same question as before. And I had to swoop in and kind of correct her and correct myself as well. No, it's really hard to answer an option question with just one card. So remember that we actually asked, should you go back to England? Which really translates to, what would this move bring you? In that sense, you can interpret the judgment card as, well, it's going to bring awakening, a resurrection, it's going to give you more energy, it's going to change your life. So I know I'm very much contradicting myself in the same video, but I still stand by it. It's very different than the either or question and try to look for clues in just one card. And I guess we just got lucky with this incredible sign. I take that as a sign the cards really wanted to make it clear for her that England is the right option. But then, as professional readers, or even if you just do it for yourself or for friends, be aware of the phrasing of the question and how really that changes the game for the tarot cards and how then you are supposed to read them, right? How then you are supposed to find clues in the cards, or be aware if you're maybe making it more difficult for yourself than it needs to be. If you have an either or question, option number one, option number two, and then you just pull one card. How, sometimes that's really, really difficult to see. It wasn't this time. But yeah, so there. Remember that you, as the reader, carry the responsibility really to make the job possible, or in the very least, easier. I think that was it for today. I know this was a little bit shorter, but I still rambled. And I will see you next time, okay? If you want to support my work, please like the video, comment in the video, comment underneath what are your experiences here. How would you read a question like this? Would you have, noticed the subtle but significant change in the phrasing of the question? If you want, of course, check out my Patreon. I put up videos multiple times a month, and check out my deck. I will see you all in the next video. Much love. Bye.